Hi, I'm Ryozo Tsujimoto, and I'm the producer of Monster Hunter World Iceborne. My name's Kaname Fujioka, and I'm the executive director and art director for the title.
So, Monster Hunter World came out, and it was a phenomenal success for the series. Was Iceborne in the makings or in the planning stages when World came out, or did you guys decide to create this based off the success of Monster Hunter World?
We did have a general framework in mind while creating Monster Hunter World that we could add an additional, master rank expansion later. But the details and the final confirmation we were going to go ahead and do it didn't really come into focus until after the original game was released and we could see how well it did and how players reacted.
So did this just expand from what would have been like a regular update or another new free installment into something bigger as you were in the process of developing it further?
We actually already had the general volume in mind before Monster Hunter World came out, so it wasn't really informed by the success of the game so much. In the past, they've generally had the low and high ranks be in the main game, and then we've released a subsequent new edition of the game with the new, what was called G rank back then, and we're now calling it Master rank. So we knew that this is roughly the size of content we want to add and what people expect from us. It was more just that after Monster Hunter World came out, we saw clearer the players' feedback and what the fans thought of the game, so that helped us decide what kind of monsters to include and more specific gameplay details.
I actually had a chance to fight one of your new monsters today. I hope I'm saying this right. Bombaro is a really interesting design because it seems to combine a few characteristics from monsters that we saw in World, but at the same time, it's also got like this moose face that's very amusing to me. Where did the design of this new creature come from?
The kind of baseline concept for the monster before we started on the visuals was we want to have a monster with a relatively simple attack style, so something that's just going to charge at you and you're going to want to get out of the way. That's a monster that's very flexibly usable. It can be an early stage monster in the game, which can be hopefully not too challenging to defeat, but then it can also be something we introduce in other monster battles for the turf wars where different monsters interact, and he'll bring something interesting to those battles. And in the process of designing it, the designers had the idea that what if there was a monster who could sort of roll up parts of the environment like tree trunks and rocks as he charged at you, and that would mean that his attacks could vary depending on the part of the stage he's in, because he'd be sort of flinging different stuff at you by creating this like rolling avalanche in front of him. And that's when we made the design be these kind of moose-like antlers on its head, but also a third kind of horn on its face, which is part of the structure of its face that lets it kind of, I don't know what you would say, scoop up the stuff in front of it. So those two elements, the concept and the visuals, really combine together to make the current design.
Beyond like some of these new creatures and new designs, you've also added a few new features. All the weapons have gotten a new combo, and you have also added a new grappling system, which I gotta thank you for because I'm not very good at mounting. Was the grapple something that you had always wanted to integrate but didn't have time at the initial launch of Monster Hunter World? Was it done in response to people like me who aren't very good at mounting? Or is it maybe inspired by something else like perhaps Attack on Titan, which has a very similar mechanic in its series?
The Clutch Claw idea came after Monster Hunter World was out. It wasn't a sort of scrapped idea from that game. What the impetus behind it was that, as you know, if you played Monster Hunter World, a lot of the game is about creating openings to attack the monster using the environment. Although it's quite indirect, so you could do things like use a slinger fire to hit a vine trap, which would release rocks or something like that. We wanted to add a more direct way for players to create openings to attack. So the Clutch Claw, the idea is that you'll be able to grapple onto the monster and attack it and send it flying into like rock walls, or if one of your teammates places a trap on the far side of the monster and you clutch on to the near side and you can knock it over in that direction. And it's just another tool in the hunter's arsenal, a strategic option that you can use at the right time to create the right opening for everyone to attack the monster, or while you're on your own as well.
I'm also curious where the new feature that allows you to summon a creature that will help you track down your prey. Where where did the decision to introduce that feature come from?
I decided that this would be a good feature to add because the Hoarfrost Reach, the new map, is bigger than the existing maps. It has lots of areas which will gradually be unlocked as the story progresses, and I felt that I didn't want that size to become a negative, that it was too big to get around or too tedious to move around between areas. So while we already had some existing shortcut mechanics in Monster Hunter World, such as slingering onto a wing drake, which would then take you in a fixed path shortcut around the stage, I wanted to add something that would build off the existing Tail Raider feature, where your Palico could become friendly with small monsters on the stage and then ride it and go into attack with you. I thought that was a good basis to build up a new shortcut feature, which was that once your Palico has befriended local small monsters, the hunter can also use them as a way to get around the stage or find the monster quicker, because the small monster will track the monster you're currently going after and it'll lead you along the tracks to where the monster is, which gives you an opening, a bit of downtime to do things like sharpen your weapon, take a hot drink and so forth. So it's a feature that kind of adds a lot to the game whilst also building on the existing ones, so it feels like an organic extension of the existing Monster Hunter World style.
The story behind Iceborne, when does it take place in the timeline of Monster Hunter World, and what is happening? Why are we going to this new territory?
We haven't really established a specific setting in terms of how much time has passed between the end of Monster Hunter World and Iceborne, but after the defeat of Xeno'jiiva at the end of Monster Hunter World, let's say a certain amount of time has passed, everyone's kind of just recovered or gotten over that, and they discover an unusual phenomenon in that the tracks of Legiana are discovered in the ancient forest, and this is a part of the new world where Legiana have never been seen to roam, and the Research Commission guys, of which you're one of, they find that there's a flock of Legiana who seem to be migrating across the sea to some unknown destination. So they decide to follow them and go across the sea and see where they're going to, and that's where we discover this new Hoarfrost Reach area. And the secret of what leads them to there will surely be found in the area itself. So they set up a new base camp, the Celiana, and decide to explore this new frontier and figure out what's going on.
So it's almost as if Monster Hunter World has gone from now being like a figurative new world to being an actual physically new world. Post Iceborne, are there plans to expand beyond and explore other new worlds as well in the coming years?
So the main setting that we're showing off is the Hoarfrost Reach, the new map, because it's kind of a new discovery and it's the new setting, but it's not the only setting of Iceborne. You will still be exploring the main new world continent itself, going back to those maps from Monster Hunter World, but there'll be changes to the ecosystem or different monsters appearing in different places and different combinations of monsters. So while the Hoarfrost Reach is certainly a big focus and it's certainly one of the key design visuals, the new world itself still exists, and you'll be able to go back and forth between Astera and Celiana and see what difference these new discoveries makes to the game. Well, after Monster Hunter World came out, we did support it with a bunch of title updates and additions after the release. And now we're bringing this massive expansion DLC of Iceborne to it as a way to be able to drop a whole lot of new content that's much bigger than the scale of what we did on the other title updates. And that's why it takes the form of this huge paid expansion DLC. This DLC itself will then subsequently be supported with more post-launch like title updates and that kind of thing. But it's not necessarily an indicator that our future plan for this title is to just keep dropping this kind of thing in future.
Let's talk about the new Elder Dragon, Velkhana. It's gorgeous. It's simply gorgeous. It's definitely a lot different from the Elder Dragon in Monster Hunter World. Conceptually, where did this design come from?
Yeah, the Elder Dragons in Monster Hunter World and this one look quite different. Nergigante, for example, was quite power-based, so its silhouette describes its power and visually. And for Iceborne's main monster, Velkhana, I wanted to have a new Elder Dragon with an ice element because we hadn't done that before. And I think that really informed its design, where it would become this kind of slightly more refined and elegant and detailed kind of silhouette to the monster. And that would let us set it apart from the existing ones you've seen, not just in terms of visuals, but in terms of how you can expect its gameplay to work as well.
in the fourth generation of Monster Hunter games, you were able to play as Palicos. Me and all my friends, we love Palicos. I think a lot of the fans love Palicos. You guys considered bringing that feature back to the series at all?
The concept of each title within the series can be quite different. So even though they're all called Monster Hunter something, we have each one have its own concept of how we're going to expand the basic gameplay of Monster Hunter. And for the Generations games, we had this idea of, in addition to things like the Hunter arts and styles, the Prowler mode, I'm trying to think of the old title. The Prowler mode is something that was part of that game's concept, and it worked well within that context. I think for Monster Hunter World, our main focus conceptually is this living ecosystem, this sort of environmental interactions and how you use them to your advantage, and how that expands the gameplay and makes you feel part of an immersive, realistic ecosystem. And those features make sense within their own games, but we don't see it as something necessarily that we would like to port over between games in the series. So apologies, but there are no plans to add Prowler mode to Monster Hunter World.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today. When will Monster Hunter World Iceborne be launching?
Monster Hunter World Iceborne is hitting PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on 6th of September 2019. It's available as an expansion DLC for those of you who already own Monster Hunter World. And if you don't own World yet, this is a great chance for you to get on board. You can buy our Master Edition, which includes Monster Hunter World as well as the Iceborne expansion pack. So look forward to joining you on the 6th of September for some happy hunting.